professional football. This portion is brought to you by General Motors of Canada Limited, on behalf of GM dealers throughout Canada, who invite you to see and drive the new Mark of Excellence cars for 1970.
The commissioner of the Canadian Football League, Jake Adore, certainly must have a friend in an influential position, because I think Jake ordered and was delivered this afternoon absolutely ideal weather conditions for playoff football. That's the way it is here in Toronto. Hello, everybody. I'm Tom McKee. With me is Bernie Filoni, our expert analyst on our broadcast. And Bernie, as you know, and everybody knows, Ottawa received the bye into these Eastern Conference finals, while Toronto had to beat out Hamilton last week. Now, the question is, do you think that that momentum of winning the game against Hamilton for Argos is going to carry them through this first game today?
We'll have to, and especially defensively. In this last ball game, Ed Learn was the Mr. Gunny on the spot, intercepting one of two passes in the ball game here, and he caught that flat on his back. Zuger, back after a long layoff, was throwing the ball very well. Throws this pass to Wazalowski. Nothing much happened in that first quarter. In the second quarter, Tommy Joe Coffey kicked a 40-yard field goal that put the Hamilton Tiger Cats in front 3-0. Something that isn't used much in the professional football games is the quick kick. And Zuger gets a beauty away here. He kicks the ball from the 16-yard line, and it was a 69-yard quick kick. Krawchuk, who runs the punch back for Hamilton, runs his third down punt back and fumbles the ball. It's recovered by Mel Prophet. And this sets up a field goal by Johansson from the 34-yard line that tied up the score 3-3. It's Learn and Zuger again, and Zuger getting ready on an option play here, runs the ball, is hit hard, and Learn comes in just a bit late. This is where Zuger is injured and has to leave the ball game. Mantle comes in, number 10, and he hands off right to Buchanan and left to Fleming and takes the ball over for a touchdown himself. Mantle didn't work much offensively, and he came in, and some of the veterans helped him out by saying, well, if we put a twin throw to the right, hand the ball off here, and it worked in to a touchdown by Mantle, and quite an asset. Cosentino alternated with Wilkinson and set up this Johansson field goal on a 13-yard run. With Pete Johansson making the score, Toronto 6, Hamilton 3 after a 44-yard field goal. One of the biggest plays in the game was this fumble recovery by Harrington. Buchanan running the ball, fumbles, Ed Harrington comes up with it, and this sets up another play that puts the ball down in close. It's Wilkinson throwing the ball to Thornton for 29 yards. We'll see Thornton come back to the ball to make that big play. Wilkinson throwing the ball very well, comes up with another pass to Prophet, 12-yard pass. It takes the ball inside the 2-yard line, setting up a touchdown by Tom Wilkinson. And after a couple of signals, the score is 15-9, Toronto. Hamilton is still in the football game, and their speedster, Garney Henley, takes a screen pass behind fine blocking, almost goes all the way. He runs out of field on the left side, but this sets up the Learn and the nemesis really for that day, because Learn was falling down, intercepting this last pass, the last effort by the Tiger Cats to get into the ball game or get back in to win, and Learn lying down intercepts that ball, and the score ends up from 15-9 in favor of the Toronto Argonauts.
Well, those are the highlights of what happened 7 days ago. But now it's this Sunday, and it's this game, Eastern Conference first game of the Total Point Series against Ottawa. Return to Don Chevrier, our play-by-play broadcaster. And Don, first of all, the weather's good, but what about this field?
Well, the weather can't save the field, although it's not in that bad shape. Certainly better than the semifinal game last week, and indeed better than Lansdowne Park, where the last game of this series goes. Lansdowne Park is quite a mess after the game in Ottawa yesterday, the junior playoff game, but today mainly between the hash marks. If they could play the game in the end zone here, they might be all right, but of course they can't. Rough Riders and Argonauts are all set, ready for our national anthem and the opening kickoff after this message. You can see it's a pretty pleasant day here for mid-November. 40 degrees in Toronto. The winds out of the west at 20 miles an hour, and they'll favor the Rough Riders in this first quarter. And joining the Aquatic Institute marching band, they're singing "O Canada." So for the 7th time since the end of the Second World War, the Rough Riders and the Argonauts are in a playoff series, and for the 5th time, they're battling for the right to represent the East in the Grey Cup game. Harry Ross is the referee. Gibbs Sagan, Bill Dell, Bud Wiley, and Warren Woods are the other officials. And number 14, Don Sutherland, getting squared away to get this game underway with the Ottawa kickoff. Tomlin, Simons, back deep. 33 is Simons, and 23 is Jim Tomlin. The 14th import, not starting, Van Oy for Toronto, and Thomas, the new back for Ottawa. Simons back to the 29-yard line with Sutherland's opening kickoff.
Bernie, I'm a little surprised that Ottawa kicked off there.
Well, with the greasy field and a little wind out there, Tom, they probably are relying on their defense. They put some wrinkles in their defense to combat this Argonaut offense, and I think by kicking off and showing their defensive strength might be a wise move, or so Frank Clare feels it's wise anyway.
Wilkinson, 19, Argonaut starting quarterback. Mickey Moore. A 1-yard gain hit by Gene Gaines at the 30-yard line. Argonauts will be 2nd and 9. Mickey Moore, number 30, starting in the backfield. Dick Thornton played the semifinal game against Hamilton last week, and Thornton will stick to defense, all things being equal this afternoon. Number 21 for the Rough Riders, Wayne Giardino, is playing at the far corner, where he has been all year, but they expect he'll be in offensively as a starting halfback, and the Riders have the ball. Poirier knocks it away from Jim Court across the 50-yard line, and on 3rd and 9, Dave Mann and the kicking team will come on for Toronto. And will kick to Cooper and Ardern. Billy Cooper down at the 40-yard line. Prophet and Lebrock led the tacklers downfield, the punt traveling 42 yards. So for the first time today, the Rough Riders have the ball. First down at their own 39-yard line. Giardino, 21, and Mankins with Stewart in the backfield. Thornton defending on Whit Tucker, but there is a marker down near the line of scrimmage. Infraction against the Toronto Argonauts. Rough play will take it downfield. 15 yards to the 54 of the Riders, and they will be first down from there. Jay Roberts is the tight end, number 76. Adkins down by Tomlin, 46-yard line, and close to first down range.
Margene Atkins, number 73, one of Jackson's favorite receivers, on a breakout pattern. You see he almost slipped there, and it's very slippery going on that field. He did slip finally. You know, it's really a field like that as a passer's dreamed on, because the receivers know where they're going, and I've said this all through the year, when you get on a slippery field, they'll probably throw the ball more than run the ball.
Well, of course, the patterns on the wide side, past the hash marks, can be run like they would be on a fine summer's day. It's pretty good out there. The rough going in this field is in the center, of course, where it most frequently travels. Just a little bit shy of the first down at the 46-yard line. Marv Lester's playing the middle where Alan Ray Aldridge usually goes. At least on this series of downs. Russ Jackson has the better part of 5 yards on the Ottawa first down. Point of scrimmage will be the 41-yard line. Rough Riders first down from there. Argonauts then with some defensive changes. Dave Metchell, 69, is playing the left defensive end, formerly occupied by Vernon Van Oy. Harrington, of course, 54, the right Toronto defensive end. Jackson overthrowing Whip Tucker at the Toronto 20-yard line. Thornton and Learn back there to cover.
Well, there's no doubt, Don, that this is excellent football weather. The only thing is that with that bright sunshine, I wonder if the team defending the zone to our left, Bernie, is going to have trouble not only with punts and with placement kicks, but also defending those passes from Jackson in this particular case.
Well, it's very hard to look into that sun and catch the ball and even defend against it. Jackson can see, of course, but the receivers have a tough time seeing the football.
2nd and 10, 41-yard line. No scores yet. That time they made it work. The very same pattern as the previous play, and it's a long first down at the Argonauts 16. Jackson to Whip Tucker.
You're right, Don. It is the very same pattern, and Jackson must see that those wide zones are open. He's getting a lot of time to throw the football out there, and Whip Tucker makes a catch right inside the strike zone.
A 25-yard gain. The Rough Riders moving with apparent ease. The first time they have the ball. Tucker, 26, going right. Adkins, 73, wide left. Mackin and Giardino stuck behind Jackson. Giardino. Picks up a gain of about 9, maybe 10 yards, close to a first down. Jim Dye and Jim Tomlin combined to stop him.
Wayne Giardino, normally a defensive corner, is a real tough football player, Don, and he shows there that when he runs that football, he runs tough also.
Called for a measurement to determine whether it's an Ottawa first down. And with that timeout on the field, 10:44 to play in the first quarter, the score is Ottawa nothing and Toronto nothing. For that short break, the Rough Riders did have the first down. They've moved the ball on this first series of plays for them from the 39-yard line to a point just outside the Argonauts 6. They are first and goal to go. Giardino. Down near the 3-yard line. Marker is down across field, though. We'll check and see whether it... No, it is a call. It's against the Argonauts for offside. Rough Riders naturally will accept the penalty. They take the ball halfway to the goal line. That's about the point Giardino was stopped. But from there, they'll be first down as opposed to second down, and they elected to take the game. So first and goal from the Toronto 3. Nowhere to go at the 3-yard line on contact with Walt Balasek, number 64. Balasek and Metchell are on the same side defensively. Wadsworth and Harrington across field as the Argonauts front 4, with Luster in the middle, Bloom and Martin on the corners, trying to stop this Ottawa series inside the 5-yard line. Second down and goal to go from the 3. Russ Jackson with the first score of the Eastern Conference Final Series. And here, Bernie, it's a matter of picking your spot to cut in.
Well, Jackson, on a rollout, he has the option to pass or run. He sees about 5 yards of clear daylight there. He's hit really at the 3-yard line and actually jumps over that tackler. He's hit in the end zone.
So it is 6-0, and Don Southern will attempt to make it 7-0 for the Rough Riders on the point after attempt. Southern makes good, and the Rough Riders score first in the Eastern Finals, lead by a score of 7-0, with 9:25 left on the clock in the first quarter, which is really the first 8 of this 2-game total point round. If you look at this as one football game lasting 120 minutes, which it is. The next game, of course, back in Ottawa on Saturday afternoon.
This final is the 7th playoff series between the Argos and the Rough Riders since World War II, the 5th for the right to represent the East in the Grey Cup game. Toronto defeated Ottawa in 45 and 47. That was in the final, and in the semifinals in 1961. And Ottawa has won over Toronto 1960, 1968, both of those finals, and the 1967 semifinals.
Southern getting set to kick to Simons and Tomlin. 8 yards deep at Simons. And the Rough Riders did a great job of breaking down that blocking. Simons got back 30 yards. Ed Joyner made the principal tackle at the 21-yard line. And again, the Argos have poor field position from which to start their second series of downs in this game. Ottawa 7, the Argonauts nothing. First quarter, C&E Stadium in Toronto. Simon upended by Jerry Campbell. No gain on the play, maybe half a yard, if that. At the 21-yard line, it is no gain, 2nd and 10. Giardino is still in there, going 2 ways, having played offensive halfback, staying in as corner linebacker on defense, at least for the time being.
The Rough Riders are playing a straight 4-3 defense, a pro defense. They're rushing 5. They're rushing a corner either side whenever the rollouts haven't come.
2nd and 10. In court at the 25-yard line, and it will be 3rd down. There's an infraction here, though. Martha's throw near the line of scrimmage, and with that westerly wind, it blew all the way back inside the 10-yard line. It was an offside penalty against the Rough Riders. So a change of plans for the Argonauts. Dave Mann had come in to kick. Now the regular offensive team comes back out. Second and 5 to go from the 26th with the walk-off on the penalty. That penalty has been the Argonauts' best game today. Dickie Moore is very close, but I think short of the first down, just inside the 31. Ken Lehman, number 41, met him for the Rough Riders. And Leo Cahill decides this is no time to take chances, although they will have a measurement. They appear to be just half a yard short. There's the evidence. And we'll kick to Billy Cooper and Barry Arduin. 20 is Arduin, 23 is Cooper. And Bray chases Arduin out at center field, and the Rough Riders will start from there. 27-yard kick, the shortest today, and the two coaches and the officials have agreed that if a very short kick, say a 15 yards or less, comes into play, they will, when in effect amounts to use the American fair catch rule and just blow the whistle dead right there and stop the play if it is that short. But 27 yards, of course, that last one is treated normally. Wayne Giardino has 5 yards across the 50-yard line. Dave Mechel, 69, just getting up, was the tackler.
Regarding that short kick, Don, it is covered in the rule book. If we have time later in the game, perhaps we could read the paragraph too.
2nd and 5 to go. Adkins, the receiver, had fallen at the 30-yard line, and the ball sailed for Jackson's sake safely into touch at the 15-yard line with a couple of anxious Argonauts back there waiting for it. So it's 3rd and 5 now, and the Rough Riders send in their punting team. 7-0 Ottawa is the score. 34 is Sternberg, 32 even, going back to the goal line. And Berkeley, number 15, with his first punting attempt today. Mike Even is taken down by Tommy Pullen. That's a tough catch to make, especially the ball coming high in that sun out of the west end of the stadium. 49 yards was the kick, and they're back to the 4-yard line from where the Argonauts for the first down.
Here's how that rule reads. Should a kick ball travel only a short distance across the line of scrimmage so that players of the kicking team have no opportunity of giving yards to a receiver, the referee may whistle the ball dead immediately it touches the ground, or a player and the ball shall be awarded to the receiving team without a no-yards penalty. So it's spelled out in black and white.
Moore is a mile offside. Lehman dropped a gift interception. Marshall had been the receiver, but Dickie Moore, flaring out on the right side, got a good 4 yards across the line of scrimmage with a full head of steam as the ball was snapped back from center. Rough Riders have declined the penalty, and the Argonauts stay at the 4-yard line, 2nd and 10. Tom Wilkinson encountering trouble again this week in moving the Argonaut offensive team. Taylor, 24 wide left, Thorpe, 20 to the right side. Takes to Moore. Wilkinson with a big charge from Kane and Booth, got in behind the official to get a little bit of protection there, Bernard.
I was saying he had another charger in there, and the official just couldn't get out of the way fast enough for Wilkinson, who was backpedaling because they did have a big rush on him at that point, and he ran right into him.
That's Harry Ross, the referee, and I guess in a situation like that, you use any blocking you can find, whether it's planned or not. And Ross just happened to be there. 3rd down from the 4-yard line, and Dave Mann sets the punt from the end zone. Ardern back to the 27-yard line, and once more the Riders have great field position.
Talking about that decision to make the kickoff to the Argonauts has certainly worked out well for the Rough Riders and Frank Clare. They scored a touchdown. They've kept the Argonauts in their own end of the field and come up with a ball in good field position on 3 occasions.
That wind is tough. 28 yards was the length of the last punt into it by Dave Mann. From the 27, Rough Riders first down. Here's Russ Jackson. Close to a first down at the 17-yard line. Walt Balasek, number 64, hit him first, and then Learn followed up. And they put the ball down at the 18 and should be about a yard short of that first down. Four and a half minutes to play in this opening quarter. The Rough Riders lead 7-0. As they scored the first time they had the ball, moving right downfield from the 39. Jackson capping it with a rollout play from the 3. Jim Mankins, the first down at the 15-yard line. The gain was 3. Marv Luster, 27, made the stop.
Marv Luster, number 27, is a very great defensive linebacker. He moves around, and here he comes right in the hole and hits Mankins very hard first. Those linebackers of the Argonauts are moving inside and outside depending upon the backfield setup, the linemen of the Rough Riders. And you'll see them blitzing occasionally off to one side.
A marker throw, and that ball batted down just as Jackson released it. Mike Wadsworth, the Argonaut player who knocked the pass down, but something illegal occurred in there.
Here comes a rush, and Jackson setting up to throw the ball, and the ball is knocked down. Let's watch. It looks like a roughing call there, maybe roughing the passer.
Looked like Ed Harrington was the culprit there, while Wadsworth got a piece of the ball. Ed got a piece of Russ Jackson. So again, half the distance to the goal line at the 7.5. The Rough Riders are first and goal to go from there. 3.5 minutes remain now in the first quarter. Giardino. Ball came loose. Martin has it, but they have whistled the play down. And I believe the ball is staying in possession of the Rough Riders.
Wayne Giardino on an end run, running hard, tries to run over one of the Argonauts. And the ball comes loose just as he hits the ground, but they call it a dead ball.
Second down and goal to go. Mike Bloom with a tackle on Jackson.
Things are turning into a fervor out there, Don.
There's a timeout on the field with 2:33 to play in this first quarter. The score is Ottawa 7 and Toronto nothing. Was thrown for an 8-yard loss by Mike Bloom. The ball is at the 12-yard line, and Don Southern, with Jackson holding, will attempt a field goal from the 20, the angle shot left. Southern makes good, and the Rough Riders up their lead by 3. 10-0 now over the Argonauts, with 2 minutes and 17 seconds to play, and this is the first quarter. And the Argo fans will long be talking, I'm sure, all next week about that fumble that might have been. And actually, had Pete Martin, had the play been allowed as a fumble, had Martin picked it up, which he did, and been allowed to run, he had the entire far side, Bernie, wide open to him.
Good, Don, and he has pretty good speed, too, for a big lineman.
First down from the 35. Wilkinson, 19, still the quarterback. Offside again. Bobby Taylor, the receiver, was offside. He gained 10 yards, but they'll bring it back.
Bobby Taylor was the man offside, and there he is. He's outside. He leaves really before the ball is snapped, even though the pass was completed.
Well, maybe a problem with this crowd making so much noise is a wide flanker, Bernie, and hearing those signals correctly.
It's hard to hear the signals, but you always are looking in towards the ball, Don, and there's no excuse for a flanker to be offside, really.
They take it back 5 to the Toronto 30. They are first and 15 from there. Bill Simon surrounded. Campbell brings him down. At the bottom was Gene Gaines. And the loss is 5 more, back to the 25.
Gene Gaines, number 22, playing safety. Whenever there's a wide run, comes up fast to the inside, and we'll see Gaines coming up in on this play and making the tackle first. Help there from Campbell.
The Argonauts' net offense in this game, the first quarter, about 1:20 to play, is 1 yard net. Simon. All alone at the 20-yard line. They lose 5 more. Gaines was there along with Ed Joyner, number 63.
Not much blocking help out there, Bernie.
Well, it's the type of defense, too, Tom, that Ottawa's playing. They force that wide side very fast. They're leaving their deep receivers weak by doing that, but they feel that if they can come up and force the outside run in the pass, that they'll come up with plays like they just did.
Just saw Durden Cooper at center field, awaiting Dave Mann's come. Billy Cooper at the 45-yard line, taken down by Mel Prophet. The clock with a bit of flag up shows 41 seconds in the opening quarter. Ottawa 10, Toronto nothing.
Well, gentlemen, whichever way you look at it, the 1969 CFL season is coming to a close, and it all winds up 2 weeks from this afternoon from the Autostad and the Grey Cup game in Montreal. CBC color cameras will be there all week with special programs Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night, along with the Grey Cup preview and the Grey Cup game on Sunday.
Whit Tucker at the 15-yard line was the intended receiver. 17, Ron Arends defending against him. And again on that play, I think the sun came to the fore there with both the receiver and the defender looking back into that very bright sun out of the west. The clock now shows 21 seconds left in the opening quarter. Rough Riders 2nd and 10, just outside the 45 of the Argonauts. Jackson goes to Ronnie Stewart. And he will be about half a yard short as they mark the ball at the 36-yard line, maybe a yard short of the first down as play expires in the opening 15 minutes. The end of the first quarter, the score is Ottawa 10 and Toronto nothing. We'll return to CFL action. The Rough Riders have not yet indicated that they will be punting here. Third down and a little less than a yard to go outside the 35 of the Argonauts. Of course, now the teams have changed ends, and this 20-mile-an-hour wind is at the backs of the Argonauts and to the faces of the Rough Riders. Total offense in the first quarter as Russ Jackson double-checks at the bench with Frank Clare. 75 yards Ottawa and -6 for Toronto. '21 Giordino is in at halfback. Jackson keeps and gets the first down. Ball between the 33 and the 34. Rough Rider first down. Just starting the second quarter, or really the second half of the first quarter of the two-game total point series. Wayne Giordino again impressing as an offensive runner. Wadsworth took him down inside the 30-yard line between the 27 and the 28. That'll be second down, about 3.5, 4 yards to go. It is Ottawa 10, Toronto nothing. Southern field goal, Jackson touchdown, the scoring play. Learn with a tackle on Ron Stewart at the 20. And that's another first down. Bob Hudspeth, 66. A rookie offensive tackle sitting next to 60, Danny Nicolak. Charlie Bray, 57. Look at some of the Argonaut offensive linemen. Right now their defense has the task of stopping the Rough Riders, who have almost moved the ball at will today. stop by Dick Thornton. And the gain will be about 3 to 4 yards from Arjun Atkins on the rarely used end-around play. It's rarely used by the Rough Riders with Atkins. 54 is Harrington, 77 is Martin. 21 Giardino and 16 Mankins, 11 Stewart in the backfield for the Rough Riders. Out to Stewart. He stopped near the first down marker in the area of the 10-yard line, and the marking of the ball will be all important here. It looks as though they have the first down. There it is. The Argonauts have had 3 cracks at defeating the Rough Riders in the regular season, and 3 chances to come up with a defense to contain Russ Jackson and that backfield, which is varied throughout the year. Now, of course, with the loss of Vic Washington, the Riders have had the halfback of the week playing for them. The new boy today, Gene Thomas, has not been in yet, but Giardino extremely confident in there and giving that Argonaut defense fit. The pass for Tucker was low, in behind the goalpost. There's a marker down.
Ed Harrington, the tough defensive end for the Toronto Argonauts, is mixing up here with a little giant guy, Ronnie Stewart. Watch this.
Another rough play call it is against Toronto to the 5-yard line. And the Riders are first and goal from there.
He swept him away there like a little fly. Got in the way.
It is 10-0, 11:20 of the play in the first half, and the Riders pressing for more points right here. Atkins sets out wide left. Tucker to the right. That's the first time they've been able to steal Giardino for a loss, and it was Dave Neckrell, the defensive end from the left side, number 69.
Here's Giardino on that play that has gained yardage for the Rough Riders, and Neckrell coming in, knifing in hard to make that tackle for a loss.
Loss of 4. Bernie takes it back to the 9-yard line, and the Riders have second down coming up. Billy Cooper, number 23, comes in for Giardino. Riders are called for delay of game.
Not only delaying the game there, but they've been delaying the Argonauts getting that football. They've had it for the last 4.5 minutes, and the Argonauts are going to have to do something to get away from it.
A timeout on the field with 10:32 to play, and the second quarter the score is Ottawa 10, Toronto 9.
Obviously the artwork of Toronto Argonauts fans, but I don't think it's working. And check that. Wade is scratched out. Luger's scratched out. They're waiting for Jackson.
No line through Russ Jackson yet. Again, Jackson's receiver, Atkins, fell down.
Archie Atkins, well, I don't know, he's having a tough time staying on his feet. He came on a break-in pattern there and then had to sort of stop up and just couldn't stand on his feet. A little slippery.
All by himself. Tomlin had a good chance for the interception there. So it is third down, back at the 14, and Don Southern is called upon for a field goal attempt at about the 22. That is wide. Even lost the ball. And they rule he got it back. The Rough Riders are not very happy about the call. Tom Boehner, number 61, jumping up and down, insisting the officials were wrong, but they were right there with the call, and the Argonauts get that ball out on the single point, as opposed to a much more expensive touchdown.
That was fairly close. Danny Deaver was the one who was in there wrestling for that football, and he felt sure that he had it.
An indication of the play. We have exactly 10 minutes left in the second quarter. Ottawa had that ball for all of those first 5 minutes. Taylor.
They'll mark him away back at the 36-yard line. Taylor and Ardern are Gaines in a dispute at the sideline. It's quickly broken up. That'll be the first completed pass and the first down for the Argonauts.
Taylor catches that ball, but he's out of bounds. We can't quite see it there, and he keeps on running, thinking it's inbound, so Gaines is going to hit him.
11-yard gain to the 36. Thorpe made the catch. Gaines made the tackle, but the officials dropped the marker back 5 yards ahead of the line of scrimmage. In fact, there are 2 markers, one away back downfield. At one signal there against the Rough Riders. And that is it, a legal substitution. The 2 officials obviously spotted it, the man downfield plus the sideline umpire.
Well, Bill Simons played a part there, too. He spotted it and called it to the attention of the official on this near side.
Yes, it pays to double check and count the opposition just every so often. From the 46, first down. Mickey Moore across the 50-yard line. Ken Lehman, 41, got to him first. The gain is about 5 yards at the 51.
I must feel like going through a mixmaster, Bernie, sometimes on that play anyway.
Boy, it's kind of rough at times, Tom. We're going through that big line, and especially when you're going down and the linebacker comes up just a little bit late.
Gaines tipped the ball away from Jim Thorpe at center field, and the Argonauts will be third in the better part of 5 to go.
It's one of Gene Gaines' better defensive plays, coming up from that safety position and coming in on those quick passes. I can remember one time when he intercepted 2 of those on me that went all the way back for 6 points.
He would have gone on that one, too. Nothing there but air.
20 is doing 23 Cooper, and with the win now, man, if he can get this punt away, we'll have a better one. Ardern is down right there inside the 5-yard line. The fans were hollering for rough play against Mann on the follow-through after the punt, but he was fair game out there as he had to run with that ball after the bad snap. It traveled with the bounce 54 yards.
I see Dave Mann picking up the football and getting out of that protective kicker's pocket area, and he's fair game, as you mentioned, on. So there's no rough play call there.
See, Lehman really had his arms extended trying to block the punch from the side, and the contact was made on the follow-through. So from the 4-yard line, Rough Riders first down, 8 minutes and 22 seconds to play in the first half, the second quarter of this game. Ottawa leads 11-0. Giardino, heavy contact from Marvin Luster. And he moved the ball a yard.
This game is far from over. There's a lot of good contact out there, hard hitting by both defensive squads, and this is the first break that the Argonauts have had by getting the ball deep in the Ottawa Rough Rider territory on that kick by Mann.
Second down, 9 yards to go. The Argonauts get 2 points on a safety touch. Carlson, 64. Harrington, 54, as Jackson, with enough time to throw, simply couldn't find anybody open. So it's 11-2 with 7.5 minutes to play in the second quarter.
Actually, Don, that was a pretty fine football play by Jackson. He couldn't find a receiver. He didn't want to run it back out to the 1-yard line. By giving up 2 points there, he still maintains possession of the football and good field position. Much better than being on your own 1-yard line or 4-yard line.
The ball out to the 25. Rough Riders first down. Johnny Stewart. Good block by Bainan. Sprung Stewart loose for more yardage around that left side near the 34-yard line. And he's only about a yard short of a first down. The gain is 9. Jim Tomlin, number 23, finally took him down. But Bainan threw the good block on Pete Martin, the corner linebacker, drifting in, trying to seal Stewart off right at the line of scrimmage. Six and a half minutes left until halftime. Second down, a yard to go. Argonauts searching for a ball they feel might have come loose in there. The gain is certainly far enough for the first down. Wayne Giardino getting 2 yards. So they move the yardstick. Next Wednesday, CBC Television will bring you the second game of the Western Final from McMahon Stadium in Calgary. Saskatchewan, of course, with the fourth quarter drive, winning the opening game 17-11 at Taylor Field yesterday. That's a best-of-3 series. Of course, here it is total points. The Rough Riders right now have a total of 11. The Argonauts a total of 2.
The Canadian College Championship Bowl will also be seen on the CBC stations on Friday night, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time.
Marker throw on. Mankins has about 4 yards at the 40. The Argonauts, the indication shows, were offside. Ed Harrington, the right defensive end, jumping the gun.
There's the offside. Ed Harrington, 54, in the top of the screen, going offside before the ball is snapped.
That gives the Rough Riders a 1st and 5 at the 41. Argonauts have given up 43 yards in 6 penalty calls today. Jim Mankins. Mike Bloom trailing him with the tackle at the 49-yard line. And again, a Rough Rider first down.
Mike Bloom, number 70, defensive linebacker, filling in there and coming off a block there to make this tackle, number 16, Mankins. It's a tough job and a lot of traffic in there in that linebacking position.
And Mike was looking for a football that just might come loose if he tugged hard enough on the arm, but didn't. So Aldridge comes in now to play for Mike Bloom. Alan Ray Aldridge, his first appearance today. And Aldridge makes the tackle on Wayne Giardino, 69, Necto, following up. The gain is 3 yards. 2nd and 7 to come for the Rough Riders at their 52. And Ottawa has done a most effective job of retaining the ball against the wind and preventing the Argonaut offense from a chance to get it moving with that wind of about 20 miles an hour at their back. Hudson. That ball was deflected as Tomlin fell forward. Atkins at a clear field for an extra 5 or 7 yards.
Atkins making a fine catch there after tipping the ball and picking up some very valuable yardage.
You know, he says he likes them high, but I don't think he likes them that high.
Well, he got 14 out of a play, and at the 44, the Rough Riders are first down again, and we'll find a remarkable difference in the total of first downs and everything else. And Tom brings you the stats at halftime. That play is whistled down as again they took too long to get it away. That is the second time the Rough Riders have been penalized for a delay of game today. One was down near the 5-yard line, and they came away eventually with a single point. Takes the ball to the 49. 1st and 15 to go now. 11-2 is the score for the Rough Riders. Just over 3.5 minutes to play in the first half. Giardino, big opening. He veered to the sideline. Tomlin finally with the tackle. And again, it's a sizable gain. Not a first down, but a gain of 7 on the play. Wayne Giardino showing he's a complete football player. He's been on the punting team, the offensive team as a halfback. On the defensive team, where he normally plays, the corner linebacker. And doing them all equally well. You might ask for a raise when this is all over. Jackson got that ball away to Giardino under tremendous coverage and pressure. He slipped away from Harrington, who really had a nail back at the 40-yard line, and it's an incomplete pass. A timeout now on the field with 3:04 to play in the second quarter. The score is Ottawa 11 and Toronto 2.
That's a going, but back to earth here with 3 minutes and 2 seconds remaining.
Van Berkeley getting set to punt on 3rd down for the Rough Riders. Sternberg. Well, you've got to give Jerry Sternberg full marks for tremendous effort. The punter, Van Berkeley, had to make the tackle. He got away from at least half a dozen Rough Riders and picked up 3 yards.
Tremendous effort by Jerry Sternberg on this, Don, and if he had just have been able to stay on his feet after the last tackle, he spins off, he may have gone all the way because Jerry is quite fast. And we'll see him being bounced around like a billiard ball, and just on that last attempt, he couldn't quite stay on his feet.
Argonaut ball near the 10, 1st down. Bobby Taylor. At the 43-yard line, the Argonauts' biggest game, Joe Poirier, number 17, made the stop. The gain was 33 yards. Now Mike Even, number 32, comes into play for Jim Short. And set to the left side. Bobby Taylor wide right. Lehman. Corrals Bill Simon. For a slight loss at the 43. Simons has not been able to get away, get untracked. Well, they marked the ball now that he gained about half a yard.
Russ Jackson looking on and hasn't had too much chance to watch this game because he's been involved in most of it. At halftime, we'll have a special feature on the story of Russ Jackson.
What a story it's been here today and throughout several brilliant CFL campaigns. And Berkeley. Prophet, number 75, tackle Van Berkeley. Giardino had a good shot at the quarterback. Wilkinson coming in. The ball released and the interception made. The Rough Riders 9th against Toronto this year.
Tom Wilkinson just overthrew the ball there right into the arms of number 15, Billy Van Berkeley. And number 17, Joe Poirier, gets a key block to spring him. There he is right there. Van Berkeley makes a fine run back.
A minute and 27 seconds until halftime. The clock moving. 1st down from the 41. Makes an anthem. And the short toss to short. It is ruled incomplete as Ed Harrington picks it up just to make sure.
Don't forget our CBC coverage of the Grey Cup festivities. Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Many programs coming out of Montreal, of course, capped by the Grey Cup game and Grey Cup preview starting at 11:30 Eastern Standard Time, Sunday, November 30th, 2 weeks from today.
Billy Cooper now has come in, number 23, to play for Wayne Giardino. They got to rest Giardino once in a while, and he gets a moment or two now to catch a breath. Tucker lost the ball. Marvin Lester with the Argonauts recovery. We'll see this again now, Bernie. Tucker was in full flight at the 10-yard line and heading for the end zone when suddenly he didn't have the football any longer.
That's right, Don. Jackson had a lot of time to throw the football. There was a flood pattern with Tucker coming back against the grain. And it just seemed to drop the ball as he tries to run between the two deep defenders. Jimmy Guy, and there's the ball breaking loose there. Marvin Lester, number 27, picks it up. And there's the boy with speed if he had a chance to get outside and run.
And they're going to tack on a rough play penalty against the Rough Riders as well after that last play. So the Argonauts now are out to the 31-yard line with 1 minute and 5 seconds showing on the clock in the first half. First down from there. But the most important aspect from a Toronto standpoint on that play is not that they got the ball back, but they prevented either a touchdown or the setting up of another touchdown by the Rough Riders with that fumble. Bill Simon, number 33. To the 45-yard line, a 14-yard gain. Gene Gaines and Barry Ardern with the tackles on Simon. First down from the 45, now 59 seconds remaining. Bobby Taylor to the 46-yard line, hammered down there. And a good tackle by Jerry Campbell, number 54, after Gene Gaines had a piece of him. There's the flag and the scoreboard with 46 seconds showing on that clock. And Taylor falls down as the trainer gets to him, Stan Wilson, at the 50-yard line. He was stumbling. The trainer assumed he was going to be all right. He'd get out under his own steam, but he saw him fall.
It's hard to say whether he's just groggy, Don. When he got up off the ground, looked like he was holding his back.
Here's
the play, yeah.
Yes. Taylor is dancing around and just turns around as Campbell comes in and catches him right in the chest in full flight. That's a really hard hit.
So understandably, the Argonauts will have to make changes. One is Mike Eden coming into play for Bobby Taylor, who's still being attended to. I'd say they just knocked the wind out of him, and that appears to be the case. He's a pretty tough, durable kind of guy. And Jim Tomlin now is playing offense where Dickie Moore used to be. And that's a first for Tomlin in the offensive backfield this year. Back to the game, the 46-yard line, first down. Tomlin, interference call against Barry Ardern.
That was a long pass by Wilkinson, and Tomlin was in behind Ardern, and there's definitely interference call there. As you can see, Ardern pulling Tomlin's arm down.
Ardern knew it too, Bernie. He didn't argue the call one bit.
And it's the penalty you have to take to stop a touchdown, because that's what Tomlin had if Ardern didn't make some kind of move with a receiver in behind him. They put the ball down on the 10-yard line following the illegal interference call, and here comes Bobby Taylor back into the game. "26 seconds remaining, 11-2 Rough Riders. That's in the first half, of course. Bobby Taylor. There's a flag down. Wait a minute. Back at the 10-yard line. It is against Ottawa. The touchdown will stand. It was rough play against the Rough Riders, and so Taylor's touchdown counts and makes the score 11-8. And after what appeared to be, on the basis of controlling the play, a runaway for the Rough Riders, the score now is going to be remarkably close at halftime. The convert attempt will come from Tom Johansson, number 11, Frank Cosentino to hold. Another flag down. The convert appeared to be good. The penalty was against the Rough Riders, and they will add that on likely. Rough play again. Add that on to the kickoff, which will be coming up. So we have 19 seconds to play. The score is 11-9. They're 2 points apart, and the Argonauts, with that win, will kick off from the Ottawa 50-yard line as the 15 yards is added on for rough play. Tom?
I'm going to ask Bernie if he felt the same way I did, that the Argonauts came out and they seemed to be trying too hard in the first quarter, but seem to have settled away now and certainly are playing a more steady brand of football.
You know what really happens, Tom, is that they had to change in that rim position, and it sort of picks everybody up.
Something unusual going on here, Don. They got penalized on 2 successive calls. So look where this ball's being kicked out.
I can't recall seeing a kickoff from the defending team's 35-yard line before, but there it is. Commissioner
Jake Adore sitting beside me, and he doesn't ever recall in his long career in football of seeing such a thing.
They go for the short kick. Danny Deaver gets back to the 39-yard line, and that is 4. Here's another flag. That is 4 in behind where the ball was kicked from the 35.
Well, I suppose that's not a bad call, but it almost boomeranged on the Argonauts.
This time the penalty is against Toronto. And again, it is rough play, and that indicates the very high feelings here in this Eastern Final. 15 yards to the 54-yard line, and we have 14 seconds remaining in the first half. Now, many fans will wonder why the Argonauts did not attempt the single point, but with that wind, kicking it full out, it's awfully hard to control it. And, of course, if it goes out of the end zone entirely, you don't get a point. You must repeat the kickoff. Giardino. The 41-yard line, and now we have 9 seconds left as the Rough Riders get closer possibly to scoring range near the end of the first half. Clock is moving, 6 seconds, now 5. Giardino to the 38-yard line, perhaps trying to straighten out a possible field goal attempt. Dave Mechtel, 69, made the tackle. And here comes Don Sutherland, but he has that wind against him, remember, and will have to kick from the 45-yard line. The average punt into the wind has gone only 25 to 30 yards today. Mike Even at the 10. Back to the 20-yard line. That's the end of the first half. A reminder that our halftime feature concerns Russell Stanley Jackson, the Rough Riders' great all-Canadian quarterback. We'll be getting around to that in just a moment. The score is Ottawa 11 and Toronto 9. We'll return with our halftime show after this.
Number 12 soon will be hung up for good. Very few really understand it, and most people in football in Canada aren't ready yet to believe it. Russell Stanley Jackson is at the peak of his powers, in the full, mature bloom of his muscular flowers. He is healthy, sound, and experienced, and still in the velvet as quarterbacks go at only 33 years of age. There are many who contend that Russ Jackson is the finest all-round football player ever to perform in this country. And now, having scaled the most towering peaks in Canadian sports, he is on the threshold of retirement, a retirement considered by many to be premature. So the question which occurs to Canadian fans and to other players and to coaches and general managers and every hour on the hour to Frank Clare is why? Well, it's all part of a very simple plan. It's all part of a perfectly planned man. There has been conjecture that since he is enjoying his finest season this year, and since he is at the top, that he might reconsider and stay around a bit longer to enjoy the view. After all, he is throwing the ball better than ever. He seems to be running faster than ever. He stands under his center and looks over defenses and picks them apart with the skill of a surgeon.
97.
But Jackson is a person of firm resolution, and the fact that he is enjoying a good season just adds strength to his resolve. On a very few occasions, incidents have intruded which might have altered his life plan, might have, but didn't. When he was in school at McMaster, he played varsity football, basketball, and played senior baseball in Hamilton. He was also taking a difficult honors math, and so he had to have a program, a schedule. Because besides starring in all sports, he won the Governor General's Medal for General Excellence in his third year, and in his final year, he was asked by the university to consider nomination for that pearl of the academic world, a Rhodes Scholarship. He declined, because even that glittering bauble didn't fit his plan. He wanted to teach school, to be an educator, and to play pro football. Since his Sandlot days as a little gaffer in the harsh Depression days in Hamilton, he wanted to be a professional athlete. As a Canadian from a relatively small school, he didn't expect to cut a spectacular swath as a quarterback. But in 1959, he got the idea that maybe he could do it, and that thought did fit his plan. He won the award as the Outstanding Canadian Player, and he won it because he was able to engineer some victories when import quarterbacks had failed. They had beaten off the challenges of name import quarterbacks, and then came, full of hope and ambition, to a lasting duel with Ron Lancaster. Between the two of them, they engineered Ottawa's Grey Cup victory in 1960. Then he knew, with a certainty, that he could do it, and that he wanted it, and the Lancaster-Jackson feud grew.
We were both young and starting our careers as quarterbacks, and we both wanted to play, and this was, I think, the difficulty that we faced. And certainly when things didn't go too well in the 2 years of 61 and 62 following the Grey Cup win, the team did divide a bit. I think certain players were hoping that I would start, and certain players were hoping that Ronnie would start, and certainly the fans were divided this way. And we certainly now feel that the best thing for both of us was that one of us was traded.
Some of the fans at Ottawa have never forgiven Frank Clare for selling Lancaster to Saskatchewan, and so Jackson has sometimes been booed in the Ottawa part. Lancaster went to Saskatchewan in 1963, and Jackson responded by winning 2 national awards, Outstanding Player in the Country and Outstanding Canadian. His personal schedule then took on a form, a definite 3-year cycle, but it was almost interrupted. In 1965, in the final series in Hamilton, Jackson took a severe mauling. His nose was broken, his mouth split, his kidneys damaged. He went into hospital secretly to have the kidney trouble attended to, and he considered then, for the first time, retiring. But when the snow melted that spring, and he was healthy and full of fire, he wanted to go again. He couldn't accept a beating and then quit. That wasn't the note he wanted. In 1966, for the second time, he won a double in the National Awards contest. That was the year Bill Smith died, and the Ottawa Rough Riders were on an emotional tidal wave which swept them through the East, but subsided and petered out in Vancouver in the Grey Cup, losing to Saskatchewan. And Jackson's old buddy, Lancaster, had things all his way that day. There was some disenchantment then among the directors and some fans with Coach Frank Clare, and Russ has never played for another head coach. He made it plain then that if Frank Clare didn't stay, he wouldn't either. But this is 1969, another 3-year cycle, and again Jackson is at least in line for another double award. Statistics will show that he is the most successful quarterback of all time in Canadian football based on overall performance. Regardless of what happens from here in, this has been Jackson's greatest year and his last year. His basic contract calls for $37,000 a season. He knows it will be different and tough, but he wants some privacy now. He wants to go out with friends and just be Russ Jackson, private citizen. He has a growing family. He feels he's been away too long. He is vice principal of Sir John A. Macdonald High School, and this summer he'll complete his course to qualify as a principal. He has loved football, He had to have it, and very likely he'll remain associated with it in some capacity. But he won't ever coach. He's definite about that. And he won't play after this year. He's definite about that. A strong decision, one of the many he's made in a strong and aggressive life. But it's part of the plan.
Score here is Ottawa 11 and Toronto 9, and we'll continue with our halftime show after this message.
A trip to the moon and back. Except in the mind of man, this is only the second time in history for a walk on the lunar surface. The second time that man actually visits another body in our solar system. The second giant leap for mankind. In July, Armstrong, Aldrin, and Collins saw the Earth rise and walked on the moon, collecting samples of rock and dust. Evidence of man's great achievement in conquering space. Now we watch phase 2 of the moon exploration, as Earthbound scientists wait anxiously for the return of Apollo 12 and the return of whatever they may bring.
Tonight, watch CBC Weekend for an up-to-the-minute report on the flight of Apollo 12. Canadian professional football. This portion brought to you by the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation for the best in television sports coverage across Canada every season. This is the CBC Television Network. Canadian professional football. This portion brought to you by
Canadian Pacific. Serving you in so many ways.
It looked for a while like the Ottawa Rough Riders were going to walk away with this ball game, and the figures here represent that same thinking, except Toronto was late getting started, finally did start to roll in the second quarter. But still, at this point, as far as first downs are concerned, Ottawa has doubled the score over Toronto. Giardino playing a whale of a ball game, 11 carries for 56. But a surprising statistic for Toronto as far as passing is concerned, they've completed only 4 of 9, and Taylor has taken all of those for a total yardage of 72. And, of course, the penalties here speak for themselves. Both teams want to win this game desperately. The score, Ottawa 11 and Toronto 9. And we'll continue with our halftime show after this message.
If you've ever met a CP Rail freight traffic representative, you might have the idea that he's a little on his own. Nothing could be further from the truth. He's got the help of our computer experts, industrial site specialists, train crews, economists, statisticians, lawyers, designers, engineers, accountants, great people, and anybody else he needs. So next time you're talking to a CP Rail freight traffic rep, think of all the support he can offer you. CP Rail, another way Canadian Pacific serves you.
Tom McKee with Bernie Filoni back at the C&E Stadium for this playoff football game between Ottawa and the Toronto Argonauts. And Bernie, first of all, one guy who's really surprised me is Wayne Giardino for the Ottawa Rough Riders, having quite a day.
He is having quite a day, and here behind blocking is Jerry Sellinger and Fredericks, 42 and 51 respectively. He shows why he is a great football player. He's playing defensive out there also. The Rough Riders have had a good first half. They've been really controlling the ball game, and Russ Jackson again has to start off everything in a big way. And Giardino, you'll see 21, he's throwing the key block to allow Jackson to get in the end zone for a touchdown. We go to Giardino again coming up on a play which he runs very hard, and it's on an end sweep everything, and you'll see him run into Thornton and be hit very hard and tumble, and you'll see the ball come loose on a fumble. It's a very controversial play, Tom, that Martin, number 77, finally picks up, and had he been allowed to recover that football and run with it, it could have been a touchdown, but the
Rough Riders lost the ball right there.
the Rough Riders were allowed to keep the ball at this time.
Of course, it's the old story, they don't have the slow motion down there to look at.
A game of close calls and a game of chance on an attempted field goal by Don Southern. Danny Deaver, number 30, really runs down in there, even fumbles the ball in the end zone. It looks like Deaver recovered the ball, but even did hold on to it. We'll look at that.
I wouldn't be surprised if he pushed that ball right back, too.
It was very close. This is a very smart play coming up by Jackson in a safety type of a play. He's down in close, the wind's against him. He's back into the end zone. He can't find a receiver. So he holds the ball, and he's tackled behind for a safety, 2 points, and it's number 69, Nechtel, who finally gets him in there first. Ball bouncing back and forth. Tom, there's Jackson. A lot of time to throw. He throws on a break-in pattern to one of his favorite receivers, Whit Tucker, in full form, and he's going right in the end zone, so he thinks. And then Jimmy Dye comes up, hits him on the arm. The ball drops out, bouncing around. Lester picks it up and starts back with it, and this gave the Argonauts the big break that they needed to move that ball down the field. Eventually ended up in this play, Bobby Taylor taking a reception from number 19, Wilkinson, after getting away from a big rush.
And right after he got nailed pretty hard just 2 plays before.
That's right. It's coming back as a great football player, and he's all alone. Look at that.
And you don't think he's happy? No. And those are the highlights that have resulted in the score being Ottawa 11 and Toronto 9. We'll return with the second half kickoff in just a moment.
Ron Chevrier with Bernie Filoni, Tom McKee, spotter Art Darch, and Ron Andrews, our statistician, C&E Stadium in Toronto. The second half of this game and the second quarter of the 2-game total point series. And on the board, the Rough Riders have 11 points, and the Argonauts have 9. But the big factor in the first half, the penalties. While we really don't have access to long-haul records of this nature, it'll have to be awfully close to a record when two teams combine for a total of 165 yards in penalties, as these teams did in the first half. Many were rough play calls. Ottawa winding up with 107 yards in infractions, and the Argonauts 58 yards. Game 2 next Saturday at Lansdowne Park in Ottawa. 11-9, the Rough Riders, as you recall, in the first half, threatened to make a runaway of the game. In fact, the Argonauts had a good portion into the second quarter, had only a yard in total offense, a net yard, and the Riders were racking up first downs and long yardage and points left and right. And then that one sustained drive, aided by roughing calls and the interference call in the end zone against Ardern, got the Argonauts into scoring position, and from that point on, they were a new football team. It gave them the lift they needed, but they looked equally lethargic as last week in the semifinal win over Hamilton for much of that first half until the one play got them going, the interference call, and got their ignition moving once again. So from the 45-yard line, as was the case at the outset of the game, the Rough Riders with the win. Don Southern will be kicking off to the Argonauts deep receiver stationed back at the goal line. They are Jim Conlon and Bill Simon.
This, of course, Don, means that the Argonauts will have the win for the last quarter of this ball game.
While the sun has dipped behind the clouds momentarily, that wind certainly is still very much with us. Simon. He was filled by Jerry Campbell on first contact inside the 25-yard line. They spot the ball to the 24, and the Argonauts will go from there, first down. Bobby Taylor, with the wind knocked out of his sails in the second quarter, snapped back in 2 plays later for the touchdown, and he's in there now. Simon's return was 16 yards on the kickoff return. Wilkinson, 19, still the starting quarterback. He's gone all the way. Simon. He has 8 yards at the 32, bouncing off the first man to meet him. Marshall Shirk and then Gene Gaines followed up downfield with the tackle. So it'll be 2nd and 2 from the 32. Number 30 in the huddle is Dickie Moore. He was arrested last week, and Dick Thornton played halfback in the Hamilton game. Simon. for what appears to be a first down near the 35-yard line. We're just starting the third quarter, 11-9 for the Rough Riders. And the Riders have requested a measurement. That confirms the Toronto first down.
It's real tough in that line out there, and everybody's pushing and grabbing and everything else. It gets kind of rough. You can see 3-on-1. Campbell doesn't know where to go. Kirk's in there.
That was Paul Marco back to the live action with the catch at the 42-yard line. And Lehman made the tackle there again 2 yards away from a first down on the gain of 8. Prophet and Marco play the ends for Toronto. Offside against Kirk. 45-yard line. Dickie Moore has what appears to be a first down. So the Argonauts accept the penalty, which was 2 yards longer than the game. And the ball is at the 47-yard line where it's now first down. Kenny Nicolette, number 60, the veteran tackle on the right side for the Argonauts. Bob Hudspeth, the rookie, number 66, on the left side. Bill Simon for the gain of 5 to 6 yards. Bernie, they were not able to run at all in the first quarter and into the second quarter, but they've done something in there to spring these backs loose.
Well, the biggest thing was Bill Simon's making some yards on his own in that first play, and the line is getting off the mark a little quicker, a little better now.
Wayne Giardino going 2 ways. Stops Wilkinson for a loss. Back at the 46-yard line. That will break up the Argonaut series of downs. They'll have to kick now with man coming in. About 3 minutes gone in this third quarter. Ardern and Cooper go back near the 25 for man's punt into the wind. He gets it down. Ardern at the 36-yard line, tackled by Roger Scales, number 51.
Next
traveling 30, Tom.
Next game on CBC Network. Coming up Wednesday, Saskatchewan playing at Calgary in that Western Conference final. And then on Friday night, the Canadian College Bowl from Varsity Stadium in Toronto.
First down, Riders, 36. Wayne Giardino for 5 yards, tackled by Dave Nexel, number 69. And it appears as though Frank Clare made a wise decision in going with his corner linebacker Wayne Giardino as a running back. Dean Thomas, the newcomer, not quite ready to play full-time. He's the 14th import. Now Giardino gets a rest while Billy Cooper, number 23, comes into the backfield. 26 is Tucker, wide right. Jim Mankins fighting for yardage, gets within 1 of the first down, but he will be short. Walt Balasuk, number 64, contained him. Mankins, a real game football player, struggling for every inch he can get. So the Riders are 3rd and 1 from their 45 and have to punt. Argonauts sending back number 32, Even, and number 34, Jerry Sternberg on the punt return team. And it was Sternberg who made that remarkable attempt to break loose on a punt return a while ago. And quickly loses the ball. And he gets it away. Even as it sailed out of bounds, we'll get a better marking farther upfield. But it was all Van Berkeley could do, and quite alert on his part to get it off. The timeout on the field, 10:38 to play in the third quarter. The score is Ottawa 11, And the Argonauts all huddled up there at the bench. Those are not on the field, but the bench and the team has come to life. So the long-starved Toronto fans, after a very tough start today for Toronto. The ball at the 45-yard line, first down. Oh, Prophet. The lateral to Taylor at the 45-yard line to get an extra 4 or 5 yards. That's a 20-yard gain. Mel Prophet, number 75. Taylor wide left, fourth right. And it is Bill Simon. And there's another example of tremendous effort on the part of number 33, Simon, last year's outstanding CFL player. Durham there with a chance, but he just drags him. Now two more players come in there to try to get a chance, and Simon was just too strong. First down, Dickie Moore. He's down to about the 2.5-yard line as he came back in from the original hole he intended to hit and ad-libbed his way for a couple. That ball is near the 2-yard line, so they go from there, second and goal. 8:35 to play in the third quarter. The atmosphere electric now as this partisan crowd of 33,000 plus urges the Argonauts to a scoring play. And there it is. Bobby Taylor with his second touchdown of the afternoon. And for the first time in the series journey, the Argonauts lead.
On a short send-out pattern to Bobby Taylor in the end zone, right inside the goal line area there. Bobby Taylor on his second touchdown. After a brilliant run by Bill Simon, taking it into that scoring area.
Johansson's convert has been blocked by Gene Gaines. Durham coming through there. Poirier was there, and the Argonauts do not get the extra point, and of course, in a total point series, every point is valuable. They now lead by 4, 15-11, 8:03 is the time remaining in the third quarter. After a very slow start, it's developed into the kind of game, and no doubt will prove to be the kind of series that all CFL fans thought this matchup between the Rough Riders and the Argonauts would be.
And of course, it's all heading for 2 weeks from today and the Grey Cup game. Broadcast time on the CBC stations will be 12:30 noon. That's Eastern Standard Time out of the Autostrad Montreal Grey Cup preview at 11:30.
Jim Mankin. Across the 40-yard line, Johansson's kickoff short into the strong wind. 40 yards was the kickoff. The return by Mankins was 17. And the Riders have the ball between the 41 and the 42, their own first down. Trailing now for the first time today, 15-11, midway through quarter 3. Tucker sets right. Adkins wide left. Guy defending on Giardino. The ball squirted loose, and Tomlin made a vain attempt at the interception. So it is second down and 10. Pete Martin came out on the last play defensively, and Alan Ray Aldridge, number 44, you see him on the Argonaut defensive huddle, came in to play the corner spot. Now they moved Luster outside and Aldridge in the middle where Marvin Luster has been most of the day. They'll flip-flop that pair on almost every play. Rushed Jackson under a wave of bodies, got some yardage, but not enough for the first down, as the Argonauts made better recovery against that bolt out of the backfield by Jackson than they have in all games against the Rough Riders this year. The linebackers weren't so far committed downfield that they couldn't recover and make the tackle. So on 3rd and 3, Van Berkeley goes into punt. A dandy with that wind. Mike Eben at the 19-yard line.
Bernie, are you all set? Are you ready for Montreal in that Grey Cup game? We have Ernie Africanis going to be there, Frank Ridley, Don Whitman, Don Chevrier, yourself, and me. You could be quarterback, you know. We could have our own 6-man double touch game down there.
And Berkeley's punt was 50 yards. A return of 5 takes it to the 19. Argonauts first down. Bill Simon. He sent Edwin Airmail to the 25-yard line. Gain of 5. There is no doubt the Argonauts have more spark and momentum now than they probably have in their last 3 or 4 games. And it all seemed to come at the turnaround point in the second quarter. Well, Bobby Taylor underthrown. Taylor had fallen downfield at the 50-yard line. Harry Ardern was covering Taylor. So it is 3rd down and about 5 from the 24-yard line. Billy Cooper fields the punt for Mann. And that's all for number 23. The ball came loose. You saw Hudspeth trying to go for it, but the whistle had gone. And Cooper won it back. Bernie, you're back in business now. I think your microphone just might work for you.
Well, we'll give it a try, Don. Dave Mann is kicking that ball deliberately low and away from the receivers down there, and he's had success the last 2 times that he has kicked the ball that way.
For Whittaker, double coverage from 15 Learn and 23 Tomlin. Now we have the lights on at C&E Stadium. Although with the unusual amount of sunshine this afternoon, it's been a very pleasant day. Right along about this time, it tends to get a little bit dark. So all the lights are on. You see the view of Lake Ontario in behind the south stands here at the C&E. Those waters don't look too warm, that's for sure. Second down and 10. Rough Riders from the Argonaut 54. Jim Tomlin. He outran Margene Atkins and was taken down at the 49-yard line. A 31-yard return.
If there's any doubt that people don't think that Jim Tomlin has some speed, just look at it here when he outruns Margene Atkins down that sideline. And we all know how fast Margene Atkins is. And Tomlin is actually pulling away from him before he's knocked out of bounds there.
Would you believe that unless you'd seen it, that he'd pull away from Atkins?
That was Sutherland going over the top there to try to make sure Simons was stopped. He was contained by Gaines at the 45-yard line. Jerry Campbell there as well. The gain is 4.
Trying to massage the back of the neck there a little, I think.
Second down and 6. Bobby Taylor breaks to the left. Jim Thorpe to the right. Simons, as the ball arrived unexpectedly from the blind side, Giardino was charging Wilkinson and forced the premature release of the ball. So it is now 3rd and 6 from the 45. Toronto has done, in the main, what the Rough Riders did in the second quarter, and that is they have kept the team with the wind from having possession of the ball a good deal of the time. Ardern and Cooper, the punt return team, man to kick. Cooper was clubbed down by 75 Mel Prophet. The ball is at the 16. The Rough Riders will start from there with 3:43 to play in the third quarter, and Toronto leading Ottawa 15-11.
Don, I don't know whether you've noticed or not, but it was a pretty rough first half. We've only had one offside penalty in this second half so far.
Coaches must have cautioned both teams about it. It got pretty expensive in yardage. Jim Tomlin with a tackle on Wayne Giardino. Good call by Jackson, the draw. And the gain is 6 yards at the 27. Just over 3 minutes remain now in the third quarter. 15-11 Toronto. 2nd and 4. For Atkins, who's down, now Learn has room to go. A flag has been thrown at the 50-yard line. Maybe a clipping call against Toronto.
A little surprised at Jackson. He's been going for the long bomb quite often as of the last 2 series, and he overthrows on this one, and Ed Learn picks it up and gets away from Margin Atkins, and watch the blocking as Learn returns us down the field.
There's a timeout on the field, Bernie. 2:29 to play in the third quarter. It's Toronto 11 and 15 and Ottawa 11. Clipping call takes the ball to the 54 of Toronto. Their first down from that point. Simon blocked from Hudstaff. And caught a driving tackle by Jerry Campbell, number 54. On that last play, Jackson had a tremendous rush against him. He overthrew Adkins. Learn made the interception. Now, the Argonauts all year only made 1 pass interception against Russ Jackson. They have had 2 in this afternoon's game. But his last 7 attempts to throw, Jackson's been good on only 1 of those 7. Jim Thorpe trying to keep the ball as he went down. Gene Gaines reaching for it, as Southern had made the tackle underneath. So they're well short of the first down. 3rd and 6 to go from the 52-yard line. 1 minute and 25 seconds until three-quarter time. That's man's best kick into the wind. And Ardern eats the ball at the 15-yard line. Lebrock and Scales, the first to meet him downfield. And 14 minutes almost to the 15 in this quarter, with the wind favoring Ottawa, have been taken up. And the Argonauts have the only scoring play of the half to lead 15-11. Ed Harrington meeting Jim Mankins head-on at the 18 after an advance of 3 yards. Clock down to about 35 seconds now and moving.
3rd and 3, 2nd and 7.
With been alternating Cooper and Giardino most of the afternoon. Giardino has played in the main in that backfield. But now it is Cooper, number 23, going left with Margie Atkins, 73. Jackson lost his footing and went down under Ed Harrington, number 54. That's a loss of 9, and the Riders have to punt. Even 32, shielding his eyes from the sun, and Sternberg are the punt return team near center field, and Van Berkeley will kick from the end zone. This should be the final play of the quarter. The ball goes out of bounds at the Ottawa 44. The gun sounds, and that is the end of the third quarter. The score, Toronto 15 and Ottawa 11. We'll have more. Frank Clare at the Rough Rider bench had hoped to come into Toronto and take away a fairly comfortable lead back to Ottawa for the second game of the series next Saturday. Well, now he has to give away the advantage of win to the Argonauts in this fourth quarter, and a deficit of 4 points, 15-11 on the scoreboard. Tom Wilkinson, after checking with Leo Cahill at the bench, comes in to quarterback the Argonauts, who have great field position, the 44-yard line of the Rough Riders, and a first down to begin the fourth quarter of this very exciting Eastern Conference final. Or Jim Thorpe, almost, but not quite, at the 15-yard line. Van Berkeley and Gaines covering Thorpe. And to indicate how the game is turned around with the momentum going for Toronto as opposed to Ottawa in the first half, at three-quarter time now in total offense, it is the Argonauts with the edge in yardage, 200 yards to 196.
Bernie, Wilkinson would have been better to rainbow that ball that time rather than trying to strike, wouldn't you think?
I would think so, Tom. We'll talk about that in a minute.
Second down. Wilkinson made a motion to throw, but that didn't fool the defense. He was a good 5 yards over the line of scrimmage at the time. He got 6 of the 10 he needed, and the Argonauts are 3rd and 4 now, 3.5 from between the 37 and the 38.
I just want to say, Don, on that play before this, when he threw the ball straight on a line, he had Thorpe was very fast, but he threw the ball up and he lofted it a bit. Thorpe may have been able to run under it.
Here's Johansson, number 12, Cosentino holding, field goal attempt at the 45. It is wide, and Ardern is going to let that go for a single point. The Argos add 1 to their lead, make it 16-11 now. With a minute. 13 minutes and 30 seconds until full time here at the CNE, and wherever you are across the country, we sincerely hope you enjoy. And this is the first game of the Eastern Final. Argos 16, Ottawa 11. Rough Riders first down from their own 25. Ronnie Stewart has 5, 10, 15, 20 yards at the 45-yard line. He's out on the 47. It's a gain of 22.
Stewart, who is used very little in the regular season as a rusher, has been used quite a bit today running the football, and Ronnie Stewart hasn't lost any of his speed or form, I wouldn't think. And he's able to get in and out like he has in this ball game. He's been receiving the ball well and also running very well and blocking well for the passer.
Runs like a bandit.
That was Ottawa's first down this half. Mankins met by Bloom, then thrown back by Luster. And Aldridge, 44. One-yard gain to the 48-yard line. Atkins, 73 to the left, Tucker wide right. Wayne Giardino, that delay. It was led by Aldridge, 44, who got him at the 51. But we have a flag down back at the line of scrimmage. A penalty against Toronto. Harry Ross indicating offside against the defensive team. So it is now 2nd and 4 for the Rough Riders from the 53, their own. Russ Jackson's uniform showing the effects of the defensive pressure and this muddy field. The pitch to Mankin. Across the 50-yard line. He will have the Rough Rider first down. Gary Sternberg came in on that last play for Jim Dye, and now Dye, number 10, returns, and Sternberg will go out to prevent. Normally when that happens, a rookie defensive back comes in. If the quarterback spots it in time, he often throws against him. Jackson to the 40-yard line. Made a good motion to pitch, kept the ball himself. The gain is 7 yards. Aldridge, 44, the principal tackler on Jackson. Ten minutes and 55 seconds until full time. 16-11. Toronto leads. Mankin. He was held up by his own blocker, Tom Schutte, and then the Argonaut defense closed in. 3rd down and still 2 yards to go. This being a total point series, the Rough Riders 5 points in arrears. 3rd and 2, they're going to gamble. Ronnie Stewart on that sweep has much more than just the first down. Edler, number 15, and Lester defending, putting him into touch. But that's what a good quarterback will do, Bernie. Go back into the memory vault and fill out a play that worked well recently, and we saw that Stewart play downfield about 6 or 7 plays ago.
And Don, the defense has a tendency to tighten up in the center, and an outside play is usually a pretty good play at this point of the ball game.
9:45 remaining. First down, Rough Riders. Argonaut 26. Wayne Giardino finds the going pretty rough inside. He collects 3 yards. Jimmy Dye came up to fill the hole.
Roger Perdrix, number 51, was a trap man on that play, the first man outside the center, and he did get a block on number 64, but didn't quite hold him long enough to allow Wayne Giardino to get through there.
Line of scrimmage is the 22. Here's the 2nd and 7 play. Tucker was short. Atkins was deep. Jackson couldn't get the ball to them. So it's 3rd down and 7 now. And once more we saw a good rush on Russ Jackson just as that ball was released. He's had the minimum amount of time to get his passes off. And this half, Russ is 1 for 8 in pass attempts. The field goal attempt from Southern from near the 30. That is good. And the teams now are just 2 points apart. Argos 16, Rough Riders 14. was a good belt by Southern because he was kicking into a very stiff wind from a sharp angle left. Eight and a half minutes until full time. Tom, they may play all day here and go back even for that second game.
I just going to say that certainly, if you want to beat this Ottawa squad, you have to go back to their home field with a lot more than 2 points to your advantage.
Microphone. Wilkinson unable to get away from number 63, Ed Joyner.
Bobby Taylor, the flanker that was offside, he left early again, and he must be really anxious to get downfield. He sort of tried to stay onside, but he made the motion across the line of scrimmage, and he should be watching that football to stay onside. If I were Wilkinson, I'd be out there, and I'd be after him.
They declined the penalty because of Wilkinson being thrown to the sizable loss. They're back at the 23-yard line. 12-yard loss, second and 22 to go now. Bill Simon. Jerry Campbell had to make the tackle from behind on Simons, who got the Argonauts out of a big jam.
There's an unusual call. You have a back like Simons that can run and go all the way. Good blocking behind his guards. And Bill Simons on a 2nd and 22 effort, breaking up and almost breaking this all away. Bobby Taylor down there blocking on Ballard Earn, but he's pulled down behind.
A 31-yard advance for Bill Simons. Toronto is first down at their own 53. 7.5 minutes to play in the game. 16-14, Argonauts lead. Ford turned the wrong way. And Berkeley with the interception. And Berkeley back to the 32 where he stepped out, and that is where the Rough Riders take over. Wilkinson had the ball where he thought Thorpe would be, but wasn't. 7:15 left now. Wayne Giardino, 21, in that offensive backfield. With Mankins and Stewart. Giardino very close to a first down at the 43-yard line. In fact, he should have it. Luster and Martin combining on the tackle.
Blocking and Riley would make plays like this go. Number 51 on a trap on the end, Harrington.
At 80 yards now and 15 carries for Giardino. Here's Ronnie Stewart. Tomlin pulled him down at the Rough Rider bench. Now a marker has been thrown. Scuffle deep behind the Rough Rider bench on that track. Now these teams are able to calm their emotions for a while in the third quarter after a rough first half. We now see tempers flaring and penalties coming to the fore again. A rough play call against one team, a rough play call against the other team for that little exchange at the Rough Rider bench. Only two had the first down.
Only 2 penalties in that third quarter, and one was for clipping on the interception, and the other one was for offside.
The ball stays where it is. The one roughing call cancels out the other. From the 53 at their own, the Rough Riders have a first down. The clock moving down to 6 minutes of time remaining in the football game. Toronto 16, Ottawa 14. A good hit by Bloom on Giardino, who never got the play unraveled at the 53. It will be 2nd and 10 from that point to 53. There's Metchell, the left defensive end. Mike Bloom at the corner. Balasuk 64. Wadsworth 59. That pass might have been intended for Danny Nicolak. He was the closest man to it at the Argonaut bench. I think Whit Tucker downfield was the receiver, but they get mixed up on the pattern. 3rd and 10 now from the 53. 34 is Sternberg and 32 Mike Even. They're back at the 20-yard line. And Berkeley's punt will be into the wind. Less than 5 minutes remain now. Sternberg at the 25. And he's down at the 28-yard line. 32 yards to punt into the wind.
CBC color cameras at the Grey Cup 1969 from Montreal. Special shows Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights. Sunday morning with the Grey Cup preview, and of course followed by the Grey Cup game. So arrange your party now.
First down, Argo 28. The pass intended for Jim Thorpe. Gene Gaines covering. Well, the Argonauts have the wind, and Wilkinson seems intent on using the wind behind him for long passing attempts, but they've had little success with it. 4 minutes and 18 seconds left now. The teams 2 points apart, 16-14, Toronto on the top end. They're going to a wide spread formation. Simon set wide right. For Bill Simons, and I believe he will have the first down. He was pushed back, but his forward advance was near the 38-yard line, the 39. They marked the ball, and it should be a first down.
The Rough Rider defense is slanting to the wide side of the field, anticipating that Wilkinson would roll that way, which he did, and he was forced by Giardino to go back against the flow. We found Simons over there on the sideline for that first down.
All between the 38 and the 39. 3.5 minutes left. Wilkinson got a late shot from Don Sutherland, but there is no flag. At least he thought it was late. He looked up quite in a startled manner. Gain is about 9. Court of scrimmage is the 47.5-yard line. A timeout on the field now with 3 minutes to play. In the fourth quarter, the score is Toronto 16 and Ottawa 14. The Argonaut coaching staff, Leo Cahill in the background, Bob Gibson with a headset. Down to the final 3 minutes of this first game of the Eastern Final. 2nd and a yard to go from the 47.5 for the Argonauts. Dickie Moore across midfield at the 51-yard line of the Rough Riders. Gene Gaines and Joe Poirier were the tacklers. Moore, his best gain of the day, 13 yards. Bill Simon's throwing. They rule that he threw to an illegal receiver, Charlie Bray, the guard, number 57. And Bray did a wise thing in putting his hand up to knock that ball away and prevent the interception. Simons threw before he was solidly planted and ready to. There's the signal of the pass to the ineligible receiver. Takes the ball back to the 49-yard line. That's the Toronto 49, a 10-yard penalty. First down repeated, now 20 to go. Here comes Jim Tomlin, number 23, in for Dickie Moore. You recall, in the third quarter, they sent Tomlin in, and he went deep for a pattern of the end zone, and interference was called against Barry Ardern. That led to the Argonaut touchdown. This is the second time Tomlin's been used offensively. Throw for Mel Prophet. Gene Gaines came back to cover well on Prophet, who was waiting for the ball a good 3 or 4 seconds before Wilkinson saw him. By the time it took to get to him, the Ottawa defenders had covered up. That makes it 2nd and 20 now from near the 50.
On a play like that, when a quarterback is on full run trying to get away from a guy like Billy Joe Booth and running backwards and sideways at the same time, it's hard for him to throw the ball 40 or 50 yards downfield if he gets turned up. I think he saw the receivers down there, but he just couldn't get the ball away in time.
The play was intended for Tomlin, but the Riders picked it off and double-teamed him. To the 11-yard line. Gaines made the tackle.
Bobby Taylor, having an excellent day here, is not the intended receiver to start with, but comes up with the ball just over Southern's head. There's a slip there by an Ottawa defender, and almost all the way goes Bobby Taylor, but it's down in close, 57 yards.
He is the top receiver in this game, over 100 yards in receptions, 2 touchdowns. Mickey Moore found some kind of opening there after being hit at the 10 and slid near the 8-yard line for about 3. 1:09 on the clock until full time. Collins comes in for Jim Kane defensively for the Rough Riders, who want to hold off this late scoring bid by the Argonauts. The point's very important going back to Ottawa next Saturday, of course. Wilkinson, touchdown! Right now, number 19 is the man of the hour at the C&E Stadium.
Tom Wilkinson looking for a receiver, going back to that short side of the field. As they say, an old cliche, he smells that goal line and he dives in there just past Wayne Giardino.
Well, Henson will attempt the extra point. It is blocked by Gene Gaines. That is the second convert attempt. The Rough Riders have blocked. So the score remains 22-14 for Toronto. with 40 seconds to play in this opening game of the Eastern Conference Final. An 8-point differential. The Argonauts will look back after the game and realize they could have had 2 extra points on converts, and 1 had Johansson gone for a single point on that short kickoff from the 35-yard line.
Head coach Leo Cahill said last Sunday after beating Hamilton right after the game, he said, well, we'll have no trouble at all in taking Ottawa in the first game of that total point series. I didn't know whether he's just trying to buoy up his players or what, but he appeared to be quite prophetic.
Billy Cooper at the 27-yard line. Well, the important thing for the Argos and their fans is they seem headed for at least a victory in one game against the Ottawa Rough Riders, the points notwithstanding. And that's something they've been trying to do for a long, long time.
In fact, they haven't done it since this game last year, Don.
That's right. First game of the final last year. By 2 points they won. Giardino across the 30, the 35, at the 38-yard line, and close to a first down. 16 seconds now, the clock stops. The ball is on the 38-yard line. Jim Mankins to the 43 for a gain of 5, and the clock has 6 seconds on it. Balasek and Wadsworth, the tacklers on Mankins. The clock now moving, barring penalty. This will be the final play of the first game of the Eastern Final. Jackson looking deep. Incomplete. Hopkins, the receiver, covered by 2 Argos. Arends, the principal defender, and it is all over. The Toronto Argonauts have upset the Ottawa Rough Riders by an 8-point margin in the first game of the Eastern Conference Final Series. The final score is Toronto 22 and Ottawa 14. Back with our summary and statistics in just a moment. This game was cut cleanly into halves as well. The Rough Riders in the opening 30 minutes looked strong enough to chase the Argonauts into Lake Ontario behind those south stands. They only got 11 points, and the Argos did score a touchdown to come within 2 at halftime, 11-9. And in the second half, Toronto took over entirely. With the Rough Riders having the ball and the wind, Toronto made the only scoring play of the third quarter to go ahead 15-11. That was the second touchdown pass caught by Bobby Taylor in the game. Johansson got a single point on a missed field goal early in the fourth quarter, and it was 16-11 for the Argonauts at that point. Don Sutherland on a 30-yard field goal into the wind narrowed the score to 16-14 with 9 minutes to play. And then in the final minute of this first game, Tom Wilkinson from the 7-yard line crashed in around the right side. His receivers covered. He decided to take off and moved in for the decisive score in this game, the score that gave the Argonauts a lead of 8 points going back to Lansdowne Park next Saturday. Not they could have had more, as we said. Certainly 2 converts that were blocked by the aggressive Ottawa defense. The score might have been 24-14, or a difference of 10 points. But we reiterate, for these very happy fans here at the C&E, it's a case of satisfaction seeing their team beat the mighty Rough Riders at least once this year. The first downs, Ottawa piling up many in the first half at an edge of 20-15. The rushing yardage, 210 Rough Riders, 150 Argonauts. The big edge in passing, Toronto, 193 is against 89 yards. Those penalties totaled quite a bit in the first half especially. The total yardage there, 265 and 324 at the bottom of your screen. Now in passes, Jackson 6 for 18, 33% completions. That is substandard for number 12. The Argonaut yardage up there is not correct on the pass attempts. The interceptions, 2 for each team. The penalties, there's the final penalty yardage, 112 yards is against 88. And that's a lot of penalties for one football game, 200 yards between the two of them. That should be 10 for 20 then, Tom Wilkinson, an average of 50% completion on the day. And Bobby Taylor, his favorite target by a good measure here. If he went to Taylor for the 2 touchdowns and yardage in excess of 140 on pass receptions for number 24. So as you can see, the fans very happily make their way out of the C&E Stadium. They try to keep them off the field, but this field will not be used again in 1969. It all goes back to Ottawa now, and then to Montreal, the Autostad, when the winner of this series plays the winner of the Calgary-Saskatchewan Western Final. Let's go now to Tom McKee with Bernie Filoni.
Okay, thank you very much, Don. And just as much as Ottawa had that whole situation all their own way in the first 30 minutes of the football game, the Toronto Argonauts, obviously something must have happened at halftime in the dressing room. They came out and they pretty well had things all their own way in the second 30 minutes of the game. Bernie Filoni, did you see it that way, or how did you analyze the situation?
What I saw in the second half was the Toronto Argonaut defense that came out and really put a good rush on Jackson. And they stuck him pretty good. They hit him hard whenever they got a chance to hit him. Whenever he took off with the football, 4 or 5 big boys around him were hitting extra hard, it seemed. And as I said last night, we were talking, okay, who the quarterback is, once he gets hit pretty good and gets rattled just a little bit, his timing is off, and Jackson's was certainly off in that second half as far as throwing the ball was concerned.
But you know, one of the greatest attributes that Jackson has is his ability to come back. He can be rattled maybe for half a dozen plays, and then he always comes back. But he just couldn't get back in that third quarter at all.
Well, he couldn't come back because of runs like this by Simons, number 33. Extra effort. You could see the Argonauts really coming on strong, and when you have effort such as that run with Simons to get down there and set up this Taylor touchdown, then it's tough to really come back. The Argonauts were up that second half, and they did an excellent job, and there's Taylor's second touchdown of the day.
He played a whale of a ball game, didn't he?
He sure did. And this is what happens. See, the quarterback, even as great as he is, comes back and tries to go for that big bomb. He's got a good rush on him, and he overthrows. Learn intercepts this ball, and everybody is aware on the Argonaut team that Learn has the football, because just watch this blocking as he returns this ball, almost for a touchdown, except for Ronnie Stewart. Wilkinson played an excellent second half also. Here he is, has to come back against the grain here on this, because he's being rushed to the wide side of the field on a slant, and throws the ball deep down the center. It's intercepted by Bill Van Berkeley. But coming right back after that, Wilkinson rolls out to the right, smells that goal line, and beats Wayne Giardino, number 21, in the end zone to wind up on that final score.
It looked like a half gainer going over that goal line.
He just dove from the 1-yard line in. He wasn't going to let anybody else stop him.
And so we're at halftime here in this situation. How do you feel the second half will go up in Ottawa next Saturday?
Well, that Ottawa Football Club is a great club. They have good football people. They've proven it all year long that they can come out and win. I don't think that there's enough of a lead yet, but if you play the game one at a time, Toronto has to go up and win another ball game, even if it's by 1 point. But it's going to be a goodie up there.
Yeah, it should be. Anxious to hear what Don Chevrier, play-by-play commentator, has to say about that second half, so to speak. Don, what do you think?
Well, as I mentioned while we had the stats assembled, and you're getting the highlights ready, Tom, was that it was really the series is 2 halves, and it was a football game cut completely in half in terms of dominance and ball control. All Rough Riders in the first half. And I think it was that long march with the interference call, Tomlin getting the interference call with Ardern the culprit, and then the touchdown that made it close at halftime that seemed to awaken the Argonauts, who were certainly slumbering for the first 20, 25 minutes of the game. And then once they got aroused, they just kept on going and carried the play to the Rough Riders all the way.
I thought Jim Thorpe, when he obviously zigged when he should have zagged on one pass from Wilkinson, and he also dropped another pass that was right in his arms. I thought that might snuff out the fire there, too.
Yes, it might have. The fire is glowing here in Toronto now. It may be doused rather quickly in Ottawa next week. We'll find out in about 6 days' time. The Rough Riders awfully tough at home.
Right, thank you, Don. Now, just before we leave you, and on behalf of Don and Bernie and the production people who have been working on our Eastern football crew, I'd like to say thanks to all the technical crew working our games in the 4 eastern cities of Hamilton, Toronto, Montreal, and Ottawa for their kind cooperation and hard work during this 1969 season. We'll be back, of course, with the Montreal crew in Montreal at the Autostad for the Grey Cup game on November the 30th. And now, on behalf of the sponsors and the CBC television network, this is Tom McKee bidding you a very pleasant good afternoon.
edition of Canadian Professional Football, brought to you by Labatt's Brewers of 50 Ale, Canada's fastest growing ale, and Labatt's Blue, the true blue lager beer. The best in Canadian football from the best in Canadian beer.
This is the CBC Television Network.